Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I am Diana Maria Georgescu, and I will be your host today. Last time we spoke about early warning tools and how AI impacts the business environment with Professor Dana Redford, the president of Policy Experimentation and Evaluation Platform and lead educator at Early Warning Europe Mentor Academy, and Telma Carosa, senior staff of YAPME Board of Directors and Enterprise Europe Network Portugal. In this episode, we will tackle new key topics that deeply resonate with entrepreneurs everywhere, such as challenges in scaling a business, choosing the right professional assistance to help entrepreneurs overcome difficulties, and how to approach innovation in business. The main goal of the entire discussion is to take valuable lessons from deep tech businesses gathered by an international mentor working with different cultures across the globe and adapt them to the Romanian business context. And in this regard, our special guest today is Serena Leca, an innovation leader with over a decade of experience bridging academia, startups, and industry. An entrepreneur at heart, she drives deep tech ventures from ideas to impactful solutions, specializing in innovation management, sustainability, and collaboration. As a lecturer, consultant, and angel investor, Serena excels in forming strategic partnership, fostering inclusive cultures, and tackling global challenges, all while keeping things light with humor. Near the completion of her PhD at Aarhus University, she is dedicated to mentoring and empowering the next generation of innovators, helping them navigate authentic paths and make meaningful contributions. I'm truly honored to welcome an innovation leader and an entrepreneur at heart who brings broader business innovation management, sustainability, and collaboration knowledge to the table today. Welcome, Serena, to our podcast.
Hi, Diana. It's great to see you. And I don't know how we gonna make a good impression after Dana's podcast. We got to know Dana together in the Early Warning Europe program. It's roughly 3 years now since we've been working together. So we will try our best, but hopefully the content will make sense so that the listeners and the readers and whoever would like to follow up with this material will feel energized after trying to implement whatever we share here today. And congratulations on the podcast. Wonderful to bring this to the Romanian community.
Thank you, Serena. And I know you for a while now, and I know your value, and I'm sure you will open your heart and share with our audience all the tips and tricks and secrets that you will whisper it a bit today. Okay, so I was mentioning that I know you for quite a while now. In your experience mentoring the deep tech startups and SMEs across Denmark, Albania, and Turkey, what unique challenges do entrepreneurs face in scaling their businesses?
Yes. So I started mentoring startups rather early, since I was living in Albania and we were organizing startup live competitions for different startups at the time. It was roughly 2011, 2012, and these programs were very new. And now it has become a practice that you don't offer any sort of program or services towards entrepreneurs if mentoring is not part of it. And I've mentioned these 3 countries because the mentorship relation that I've had with the companies has been organized through a program. But of course, my mentoring through individual connections and through free cold calling and recommendations from the network, I do that for many other companies all over the world. Now, these 3 programs, and I maybe can be a little bit more specific, the mentoring with Albania and Kosovo happens through an organization who is trying to bridge the companies in the country with diaspora professionals. And their focus has been into figuring out a few industries and areas that the country has as a priority, as a competitive advantage in the region. And then for these areas, for these industries, they find matching mentors from diaspora abroad. And in this case, the challenge for them was to help women entrepreneurs And the industry that I chose was agriculture and food, and how we can help these women entrepreneurs with existing businesses for many years bring their products in Europe. So I, for example, mentored roughly 5-6 women entrepreneurs, women-led companies, and with them we built 4 export agreements in Germany and Switzerland. So very specific challenge and very targeted challenge. So that would be one case. Of course, they had other pillars of the industries that they are looking for expertise, like woodwork, furniture, IT, and renewable energy as well. But I chose to focus on agriculture and food, as I have some business experience for running companies of that sort when I used to live in Albania. Now, the mentoring in Turkey, another very different market, another very different environment for startups. The project here is a collaboration with the European Commission and one of the universities, one of the oldest universities in Turkey. And they had an extreme high ambition of getting deep tech companies and getting them to create commercialization stories from Turkey to Europe. So I came in to support 2 startups. With one of them, we are still collaborating, and we are planning a trip for them here in Denmark in March. One of them is working on insect-based bioconversion to produce protein, fertilizers, and oil, still with multiple applications. And I try to assist them on how they can go to market in the European arena while building very strong foundation in Turkey, because we know that what happens over there, it's a bit volatile, it's a little bit moving fast and hindered by the governmental frameworks and the very fast changing legislative framework in some industries and some other being very old. So we wanted to make them stronger over there, but while preparing them for the European market. So this would be another type of challenge that this environment for me as a mentor has provided. But I would also say Turkey, both Turkey and Albania, I really enjoyed these approaches because they were trying not only to look into challenges, but trying to look into the opportunity. So the Albanian, Kosovo environment, they look at the opportunity of the diaspora professionals who are eager to contribute back and provide the brain gain that was first drained and we left the country. And then Turkey said, okay, we're going to pick 50 deep tech companies. And deep tech, it's a rather recent frame of organizing or identifying your company. There's also extreme tech, but that's a lot more into hardcore recent technologies and some voodoo as well. So I like the approach of being very not only challenge oriented, but also opportunity. So what do we need to do? And in Denmark, the mentoring for me right now, it's happening through 2 programs, of course, Early Warning Europe. And I feel very lucky to have had only women so far coming on my table and on my collaborations, and very different types of companies and businesses. And the mentoring with Early Warning, the challenge is very specific, very clear. They're going through a certain financial distress, for which when you start to dig a little bit deeper, you find out it's not only financial, but it's a lot more. And another program that I'm contributing here in the country, in Denmark, where I've been living for the last decade, is supporting a few more women, either to start companies or to build a career in Denmark. And January already has been full of women initiatives for me, crazy network events. Allow me to say here, you had AI last time. We have established an organization in Denmark called Connected Women in AI, and we have monthly webinars. The other one is just now around the corner, late January, so it's better for you to look at the LinkedIn page and sign up. We are open for anybody and it's free, and renowned guests worldwide. And also another network, which is mostly for Danish professionals, but I think it's worth mentioning, Women in Life Science Denmark. And that would be another way to use an opportunity, use a target, use an industry to gather the forces, to gather the resources, and then approach all the challenges that that industry might propose for whoever is as a stakeholder. So these would be a few examples on challenges that at least these countries with these programs have been facing.
Amazing, amazing, and I can understand now your agenda. Now, in Romania, Romania has a growing startup ecosystem, particularly in IT and tech. Based on your mentoring experience in different markets, what strategies would you recommend to Romanian startups aiming to compete internationally?
Yes. So I have actually studied in Romania, in Bucharest. I have had a summer school in 2014 at ASE, and we were chosen students from all over the world, and we spent almost a month in the city, and I lived in a dorm with Romanian students, and we were in the classrooms, we visited the parliament. It was brilliant, it was amazing, one of a kind experience. World Bank offices and many other entities that were related to the financial sector. And this is because of my time at that time when I was primarily focused into the fintech and financial industry. That would be my very first connection with Romania. And then I have some great best friends, Romanian, here in Denmark. One of my godsons is half Romanian. So I feel part of the family, and I've visited a lot of the country. I've been to Constanța for a wedding. I've been to Sibiu, Brasov, all the castles, mountains. It's brilliant, and I'm looking forward to come back. And one of my first mentors in Denmark, in my very first official job, he was a Romanian, and then he left the country and he left me his position. So I took over his task at that time as a regional manager for an organizational in the startup ecosystem. So great experience. And I've seen and I've felt the potential of the country by being present already more than 10 years ago. Now, I also am aware that Romania and the region in general, Southeast Europe and more eastern of Europe, is developing quite a lot. And my understanding, also being an Albanian and having a Bosnian partner and working with this group of entrepreneurs, I've noticed that what we are preaching and what we are trying to establish with our mentees in Early Warning Europe, which is resilience, I believe entrepreneurs from our countries, they have it already. And that's due to the many struggles and challenges that the country goes, being unfair to the people and unfair to the social system and the structures, but we always manage to find a way. And you can agree with me, you do not have to agree with me, but the way that the diaspora of Romania has been flourishing abroad, I don't need to mention any names, I'm sure your podcast is promoting many of them. So that skill, while we have it, it's also important that we activate it and we put it to use when it's necessary. Because it's also a skill that if you are automatically having it all the time, you'll get tired, you'll get exhausted, and you might start overshadowing other skills that should shine at that point. So it is also important for the entrepreneurs in Romania to understand when do they have to fight and when do they have to let go. And when is it worth or not to pick that battle? And I say this because I also know what types of challenges we face, which if I start describing for some of my colleagues in Denmark, if they haven't worked internationally, it's a little bit difficult to understand, or I'll have to tell a very long, full story. So that would be my first recommendation, to know when to activate the resilience as a skill and when it's okay to let go. Then I also know that our countries have been receiving a lot of attention with these developments. And with this attention, there have also been new entities and new organizations that are particularly targeting these ecosystems. So for example, if an entrepreneur in Romania right now is preparing for venture funding to raise money, whatever the round might be, early stage, pre-seed, seed, and so on, if they are looking to do that internationally, a lot of the venture capital firms, they are already putting on their websites, on their investment thesis, that they are investing in our countries, in Romania, in the Balkans, and so on. So it is important to do this filtering, to do this scouting very carefully, and approach those investors that would care and understand the environment. And if these investors, they don't have Romania in the map, then why not look for diaspora investors that are investing in Germany, in Denmark, in France, wherever, US, Vietnam, Singapore, doesn't matter the country, as long as there is a connection and there is an interest for expansion towards that country where this organization operates. Or even just asking, can you be my mentor? Can you guide me? And that would be another way to get yourself ready. Definitely, you should align with the standards and the legislative framework that the European market presents, or whatever country that you want to go present. So do that check thoroughly, understand that very well. And thank God there is a lot of AI now that you can use to synthesize the information and provide you the core content that you need, while also figuring out with lawyers and experts how to do that. When I left my country, and this would be my last recommendation, when I left my country, I was a little bit sad and I felt very guilty. I still feel guilty that I left in very good conditions with a job and opportunities, and I was in no hurry or no need, besides my eagerness to study abroad and to break my mental barriers that a certain environment provides wherever there is. Even for Danes in Denmark, if they don't travel, they will only have the perspective of the country here. But one thing that I was very happy was that I gave it a shot, both as an entrepreneur helping the family business, but also as an employee, a project manager, an activist. I gave it a try to break through into my country. So I tried to leave a mark and make some impact there. So I would recommend the same for the Romanian community. You will be able to reach higher into the European market once your brand is really, really strong into your country. If you can, if that's possible, if your country has a market for what you're proposing. If it doesn't have a market and what you offer only works in a certain area, by all means go. But if your country needs it, if it benefits from it, and there is a potential for you to do it, try it there. And you'll see that you're going to exercise a lot more skills, a lot more abilities, and you're going to be a lot more ready to break whole new types of challenges when you go into an international market. And give yourself a deadline. Say, okay, I opened the company now. I'm going to try the Romanian market for a year and a half with the ambition to sell XYZ products for this percentage of the market, for this reach, with this intention. And within this deadline, use that framework, fireworks and everything, go crazy. Use all the resources, wherever they are, even the international resources, all the grants and possibilities, but try it there first. I think our communities have a lot to represent also in terms of understanding the customer. So do the exercise with your people in your language while preparing for the international market.
Excellent. I think there are very, very good advices that you gave us. And I do agree about the first one, and I recognize it all over the Romanian businesses about the resilience. Yes, we have it in our nature, and sometimes we get destroyed between brackets, if you like, by it, because we are using it and using it and using it, and then we go to have burnouts and so on and so forth because it's too much. So I don't think in our culture is this way of doing things, of letting it go at a certain point. I think we are going over and over without stopping at the right point, not to get tired. So thank you. Amazing advices.
Always welcome. I don't know it all, and I don't have all the answers. This only has worked for me and with the community that I work. So anybody who's listening to this, please, by all means, reach out and tell me if you think otherwise, or tell me if I should tweak my perspective, if I should change my mindset, if I'm missing something. Of course, we're not saying everything today, also for the sake of the time, but I join the conversation, comment on the video, comment wherever you see content similar to this, to your podcast, so that it opens up the conversation, and then also experts are enlightened with what's actually happening if we are having a blind spot, if we don't know. So by all means, everybody is welcome to reach out afterwards.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Serena. During your professional activities, you assume different roles, right? You already mentioned them. You've been and you are a mentor, an advisor, a consultant, and investor. How do you decide which role to take on with a company? Could you share some tips and tricks for Romanian professionals wearing multiple hats, as you do, but also for Romanian entrepreneurs looking for suitable professional expertise to help them progress with their business?
Of course. So even right now, I went through a career transition. So even right now, I'm changing heads just like these last couple of weeks. I moved from being a project manager and an innovation lecturer at Aarhus University after almost 8 years in the organization to becoming an entrepreneur in residence. We are about to start a company with a few of colleagues of mine in the department, a spin out. We are working on a novel algorithm for data transfer, data storage, for time series and IoT sensor data, and I'll be leading the commercial efforts of the company. That being said, I also know that Romania has been moving quite a lot and quite fast in the IT tech sector. So if this work that our company, Byte2Bit Insight, is about to approach sparks any enthusiasm in the listeners, reach out, because we would be open to allow to test our algorithm and our platform with some of your data sets. And another hat that I took recently was supporting the Connected Women in AI organization, running the knowledge management in this organization and the webinar series that we will have. So to be honest, I don't believe that the titles and the roles are super static. As descriptive as we try to make them, there will always be something fluid in there. If it's not fluid from our side or from the organizational standpoint, it's from the market. When I say lecturer in Denmark, it's something different in Romania, it's something different in Albania. And the same with the title professor in terms of tasks, prestige, workload, and all of that. And I also don't believe that when there is a new role, there is one particular person that it's going to fit exactly in that whatever shape that thing might be, a box or a sphere or whatever. So you will either be overqualified or underqualified. So you have to pick and choose. Do you want to be overqualified and maybe not be as eager to change, a bit in a comfort zone, relaxed, maybe looking for something else on the side? Or do you want to be underqualified with the promise and with the skill that you catch up very fast and you onboard very fast and you will learn very fast? And the learning happens all the time, even when you are claiming to be an expert in a field. So some of these heads or some of these positions for me have come very, very natural. And maybe we even have had to discuss with the team, what do we want to call you? Because then that might send a message, not just from my network, for my personal brand, but also for the organizational brand, for the startup brand. If a startup very early on works with consultants versus mentors, it has different meaning. It has a different representative. When you work with consultants in the very beginning, if the consultant is doing core activities of your business, then you're actually giving away one of your main advantages to a consultant. And the consultant is going to do it for you almost the same, with a few tweaks and changes, but with a very broad overall strategy and methodology like everybody else. maybe I'm generalizing here, of course, it is a way to be a good consultant to tailor your services, but still, unless that's your only consultancy, you might be getting something that everybody has been getting before. But if you choose to work with mentors, there's a different type of attachment and detachment from the company. So the mentor have more of a guiding, I'll teach you how to fish, not give you a fish ready. And a mentor is also able to couple more than just a business perspective. They might also understand your family situation, your health, your ambitions, your hobbies, a lot more that goes around your business. So for me, it comes very natural, and I'm open to discuss it with the teams that I work on. What's the mode that they need the most, or they would benefit the most at this point. I only have one angel investment, and I'm really, really proud of how the company has been moving and progressing. I started for them as a mentor in a program. Then I became an advisor, helping the co-founders. Then we agreed that I'm going to join the organization through a consultancy agreement, but as an angel, so sweat capital. But I was a consultant only for this organization. And I delivered tasks as if I'm part of the team only for this organization for a couple of years. And then that was my investment. That was my contribution. And that's how I got into the cap table. So very unique, but also for me, very close to my set of values. Why do I want to do it this way? Why it makes sense for me and for the company right now. So you can also set your own standards in how the mentoring happens for you and your companies. This would be my my thoughts. But play around. There's nothing wrong there. And if you don't want a title, don't get a title. Don't promote a title. Just do the work. And as long as there is boundaries and clear expectations between you and your mentee, that's it. That's all you need.
Great. Excellent. And I asked you this question because there is a lot of confusion in the market, if you like, and not only in the Romanian business market, but also abroad. How should people, professionals like us that have multiple hats, how should they promote themselves or position themselves in this kind of discussions? So excellent advice. Thank you, Serena. Going further now, having supported businesses in diverse industries and countries, what key lessons and approaches from Denmark, Albania, or Turkey do you think could be applied successfully to foster innovation and growth in Romanian SMEs? And I'm asking you this because I know about your background here, and I know that you know a bit our culture. So, and it's pretty much a similar culture with the Albanian one. So, yeah, how do you see this?
Yes. So I heard a few days ago in one of these events that when you're trying to do AI adoption and you try to implement certain programs for providing AI literacy and activities for your organization to onboard with AI, you need to organize your activities every 20 minutes because that's the maximum attention span that somebody can be focused and fully absorb what's happening. And this was one of the principles under a neural leadership framework, which I thought it was a very cool way to approach AI from a leadership standpoint. Having said that, we are past the 20 minutes. So I really hope that I still have the audience and there's still interest to answer this last question. Well, if I was not sick, this would have gone much faster. I'm speaking like a philosopher now and like Greek ancient human being. But the learnings that we get from these experiences, for me, it has been important to see the world without boundaries. And I try to make that assumption. Of course, I am understanding of the local cultures, but it's more global, from a global to local perspective. And in any occasion, somebody has to find examples from the sibling or from the other person where you share some similarities. So for example, if we take Albania, Denmark, and Romania, very different in population number, amount of investments that goes into the startup ecosystem, the stage of the market development, industries where we implement. So a whole array of where we are similar and different, mostly different. So when you try to implement somebody else's knowledge, either country-wise or company-wise, I always recommend take it with a bit of salt and see or test or discuss it with a team or do some trial and error before you go on a large scale if that advice works or not. So I would be hesitant just to say, try this or do that and whatever else I might have without having a particular context. While working with AI during my PhD, I have noticed that every time there was a new project in this AI arena, I had to ask the question, what is the intention? What is the intention? And for the entrepreneurs in Romania as well, very clear and specific, what is my intention? Do I want to fix this problem for 1 million people as a target group? Do I want to change the narrative about how this industry works? Do I want to improve productivity, efficiency, whatever, in a certain process, in a certain system? So make it a very clear intention. And if possible, try to get a buy-in for this intention from as many people as you can. You can get buy-in for your intention by advocating, lobbying, changing the legislative framework for this, by creating a community, having people speak on your behalf, having people promoting your intention and your products, ambassadors and all of that. Try to be a thought leader, discuss this, ask for new knowledge openly in platforms, in spaces, so that you know how your intention translate in your country versus another country or another area when you might want to expand. So I'll just state that. Make it very, very clear what's your intention, because that is going to be your first meeting point, your first shake of hands where people are going to say, yes, we share similar intentions because we want to go to the same place. So that would be my top final recommendation.
Great. And it's a very good one because without intention, we cannot launch anything in the end, right? Without having an intention, we cannot reach a goal.
Exactly.
Looking at all the business environments you are familiar with, which one is more business friendly and why?
Oh, a very pragmatic response would be, let's open the Doing Business report, the international reports that rank countries on their business friendliness, and let's see who's in the top 5. And then let's see who is for what practices, because these scores are based on certain variables and performances of these countries. So Denmark, for example, has a wonderful ecosystem for the startups, but also very, very high competition. The government has been taking it very personal to invest. So a lot of the funding that goes to the ecosystem is also governmental. And at the same time, many new venture funds have been sparking and opening up in the Scandinavian region. That I can say for a fact what's going on here, and that's because where I'm conducting most of my business here. Again, business friendliness, it's by all means depending on what you're looking and what also you are providing for that market. So do that match, check that environment beforehand, check also all the cultural implications that those countries provide, and how do you need to adjust to those cultural requests and history and the rest, so that you also show respect. And I'm sure you'll find friends everywhere. That will not be an issue.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Serena, for sharing your insights and experiences today.
Most welcome. Best of luck. Talk to you soon. Feel free to reach out, and see you soon.
Great. To our listeners, if you're looking to strengthen your business or navigate challenges, we invite you to take these lessons and apply them to your journey. Don't miss the chance to explore the mentoring opportunities available in our community by accessing the links below. They could make all the difference. And if you like our podcast, make sure you subscribe to our channels by clicking the subscribe button below. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.